Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, guys and dolls, here we are for another episode of Strange the World.
Yay!
My name is Kevin Strange. I am joined, as always, by Editor-in-Chief of Strange House Books, Sean Ferrari and the lovely Katie Dearest.
Oh, hello.
Hello.
And on this very special episode of Strange the World, we are joined by the co-writer of the upcoming Stranger Danger double novella collection. I wrote a story, and this gentleman, Danger Slater, ladies and gentlemen, wrote a story in this book. Yes.
Yay!
How are you tonight, Danger?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I've been better. My life is a comical, it's a series of comic tragedies, but so far I've managed to get up every day for the last 33 years, so hopefully I get 33 more.
I can watch you twice, once on my screen and then actually 2 more times in your sunglasses.
Good. Good.
I see
These
3
are special.
Stranges.
These are special sunglasses, so brought them out of retirement specifically for Strange the World. All right, so Stranger, Danger. No, your name's Danger. Danger. Obviously, Danger Slater isn't your real name, so why did you choose Slater as a fake name to go along with your birth name, Danger?
Yeah, it was kind of weird. I mean, I wanted something to stand out, and, you know, so many people have the last name. I'm not going to say my real last name, but, yeah, I wanted to pick something really original. I went with Slater.
So many people have the last name Stagliano that
Yeah.
I needed to make sure I set myself apart from the crowd. So let me a little bit of background. Well, first of all, before we get anything going, I have to air some stuff. Danger Slater.
Let's hear it.
We did a show together recently. Ray Roeski, she hosted a Ask Us Anything vidcast, right? Maybe a month ago, 2 months ago.
Something like
And
that.
I was told by some of our viewers that I took up too much of our screen time talking about myself. So I want to make sure tonight that we talk about you, sir, because God forbid I talk about myself. So, with that in mind, the very first thing I want to know about Danger Slater has nothing to do with Danger Slater at all. Because I found out as we've gotten to know each other as human beings, as friends, if you will, friends in a very loose sense. We found out we have a mutual love of a certain type of movie. We have a love of Chris Seaver movies, don't we?
Yes, I definitely do.
Low budget pictures. We bonded in that way, didn't we? We both love the Chris Seaver movies. So what's going on there? Here we go. So tell me, first of all, tell the audience who that guy is that I just showed the screen.
Chris
And
Seaver. Yeah, Chris Seaver. I mean, I'm not his biographer, but he makes these really low budget, and by low budget, I pretty much mean no budget movies with they're just sex jokes with some people getting killed randomly. They actually remind me quite a bit of the hack movies that you've recently been putting up on YouTube.
Because let's be honest here. I totally ripped off Chris Seaver when I made every single one of my movies. But much like the hack movies, the low budget pictures movies, they're very difficult to find. This is very underground type stuff. This is the kind of stuff like I'm trying to figure out a way to get people to relate to just how obscure this guy's movies are. Like if you're a heavy metal fan and you're into all the big bands that are on, that were on the radio in the 80s and had videos and stuff like this is not anything like that. This is like a guy in his garage that happens to have a fucking 8-track video, or an 8-track, a fucking Super 8 camera like or his dad's video camera, filming in his garage, and somehow getting public access and showing these things on, you know, like channel 47 late at night. That's the equivalent. Like, nobody knows who the fuck this guy is. So how did you come to find out? How did you learn about low budget pictures, and when did you become a fan? How did you become a fan of the Chris Seaver movies?
It's funny that you say like that it's like a guy in his garage, because what I think the first DVD I ordered from them, like literally, like I ordered it right from Low Budget Pictures website, and it actually came as like a burnt DVD in a box, and then like the art for it was like printed out of a computer and cut out and put into the box. But I found it because I'm into Troma movies. I mean, Troma's pretty well known, and I was just looking for more silly kind of horror comedy stuff, and it's probably Amazon. Just that, suggestion, things you like this, you might like this, and I think I just kind of went from there.
You might like Mulva. You might like Mulva 2, Kill Teen Ape.
Yeah. You kind of fall down that rabbit hole, and then, like, I was just like, what the fuck is this? You know, like, what was that guy with the fucking hair, Bonejack or something?
Bonejack, yes.
Yeah, I was just like, what the fuck is this? And by the way, Teen Ape is like the funniest movie character fucking ever. Like, they just need to make Teen Ape movies forever.
Yes, I agree. What was the movie that you bought? What was the first Low Budget Pictures movie you got into?
It was Filthy McNasty was the first one.
I used to... Go ahead.
No, I still fucking love that movie. I'll still watch that like over and over and over again.
Yeah, he's made 4 of them now. I love every single one of them. I was working at a porn shop, and I had a buddy that ended up becoming my editor, Johnny, the editor of Hack Movies. We were kind of in this contest. We were both such big movie geeks, and we would watch anything, any genre, as long as it wasn't boring. We would watch a movie. So he would come by the store like on Tuesdays and Thursdays when my boss wasn't there, and he'd come behind the counter and we'd watch movies. So we're at a porn shop, and then these 2 fucking nerdy fat guys watching regular movies on the fucking TV back there, and we would just watch. I mean, he was just bringing this shit in, like, have you seen this? Have you seen this? I bet you've never seen this. And he finally landed on Mulva Zombie Ass Kicker, and which is a Chris Seaver movie. And the reason he even found it was he was at Best Buy, and he was looking through horrible. This was back when Best Buy actually had a large selection. It was like the transition between mom and pop video stores and when Blockbuster killed everything. Best Buy was a really good resource for cheap DVDs, and they had these huge sections. It was like one whole corner of Best Buy was cheap DVDs. So he would buy these shitty horror movies and bring them up there to watch with me, and one of them was a Tempe Video really shitty zombie movie, and on the reverse side of it was a picture of Bonejack, and it was like, as a bonus movie you get Mulva Zombie Ass Kicker, and he was like, what the fuck is that? So the first movie we watched wasn't even a full movie in and of itself. It was a fucking special feature slapped on another movie, and then my obsession grew from there. I bought a ton of his movies, bought them directly from his website, got the cheap bootleg versions of them, and was like, I can fucking do this, and started making my shit. But this isn't about that. This is about Danger Slater. But that was one of the things that I bonded with you about as we started this project together, Stranger Danger. Do you want to tell the audience? I know we just did this a few weeks ago, but do you want to tell the audience, the 5 viewers we have, about what the genesis of the Stranger Danger project was?
Yeah, I think we should recap everything that we did the last time, because I don't remember. I mean, I was kind of fading in and out. I should have
tattoos on my knuckles.
What?
I should have tattoos on my knuckles.
It says Stranger Danger. You're gonna need more fingers. But well, you know, I'll get like, you can get like a couple of them, and then I'll get some on my hand, and then we'll have to like kind of put them all up together.
You guys can interlock fingers, and then whenever you're holding hands, it will say Stranger Danger. It'll be so sweet too.
I'm never actually gonna meet this dude though, so we'll have to do some like photoshopping and like like this.
I'll just chop my hand off and mail it to you.
There you go. That'll work. So anyway, where did this project come from, sir?
This project came from our mutual friend, Erica, whose mom... Well, Erica had a book of mine and a book of yours sitting around that I guess she had read recently, and they were just sitting around, and her mom you know, I guess saw these books sitting around. And she decided to read them too, and she read them, I guess, in succession, so one and then the other. And then when she was trying to talk to Erica about it, I think she was just getting our names confused, and she kept saying the term stranger danger, thinking that was like one person.
Right.
Which I just thought was funny, so I just sent you a message that basically just said, me and you, like 2 novellas, 1 cover, title Stranger Danger. That was
And my response was sold.
Yeah, you were on board immediately.
We never even talked to each other before. I knew who you were, friends with the Rooster Republic guys, so I had seen your books for sale. I knew anybody associated with Rooster Republic is a good dude. They only mess with real top-notch people, so I knew that if you were coming to me with a project, I had nothing to worry about as far as you being a crazy person. So, because there are, hey, let's not sugarcoat it. There's crazy people. Have you encountered the crazies? Stranger Danger, or your name isn't Stranger Danger. Danger Slater?
Yeah, you're doing it too, man.
Have you encountered some of the strangers? Have you encountered some of the weirdos in this industry, in this weird little indie publishing industry? There's some fucking weirdos, man, and they get their hands around your neck and they just fucking drive you crazy, man. They don't leave you alone. They do stupid shit. Have you had stupid shit happen to you yet?
I don't think so. I think I kind of keep to myself in my own little corner of the internet, which is just my little Facebook page. I always say that if people aren't talking to me about me, then I'm probably not paying attention to them.
That sounds like a strange thing to say.
That brings me to the next point. The thing that I really, when I knew that this project was going to be, and it's not out yet, so maybe it won't be, but when I began to believe in this project and know it would be a success, and I knew that I wanted to follow this all the way through with you to the end and make sure that this project was released, I started talking to you about contracts and the money situation, and that's always a dicey thing when you start talking to an author, because some guys really think that this is like they're gonna publish a fucking book with a guy named Kevin Strange who sits around with strawberries like this, and the very next thing they ever do is going to be a number one, New York Times bestseller. So a lot of times when I sit down with contracts with people, I have to be like, look, you're not going to make a lot of money doing this. This is like, I would love for it to. I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure it sells really well, but the reality is none of us are huge, so don't expect huge things to come from this. And when I sat down to have that conversation with you, this is basically how it went. Danger, we're probably not going to make a lot of money off this book. And your response was, I'm not here to make money. I'm here for motherfuckers to know my name.
Yeah.
I was like, I fucking love this guy. This guy's fucking awesome. Because Sean can attest to this. We have issues where authors will be like, here's the manuscript. I really want to put this book out. This is the most important thing that's ever happened to me in my life. This is the thing. This is it. This is my dream in life, is to publish a book. And the day after the book comes out, they take a fucking 3-month vacation to the Bahamas. And when they come back,
disappear off the face of the goddamn thing.
They disappear off the fucking face of the earth. The book sells 10 copies, and they come back 3 months later like, what happened? How are the book sales doing? How are the book sales doing? Where the fuck have you been for the last 3 months? So when a dude comes to me and says, I want motherfuckers to know my name, I'm like, I think this guy's going to stick around for a while.
Whether we like it or not, apparently.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like, I always say this to people, too, when people are talking about book sales or just writing in general. And I mean, like, it might be a little different for a person like me or you who's into this kind of indie writing scene, but for the average person on the street, if you go up to them and you go, can you name one current writer whose books haven't been turned into a movie? They're not going to be able to, because that's where the money is, when someone buys your book and turns it into a movie that makes billions of dollars. Like,
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, your royalties on one book are negligible at best. Like, it's not a lot of money. You have to sell a lot of fucking copies to see good money in this. And so, I mean, it's not, the motivation to doing it isn't to make money, it's to get my name out there and get my work out there and make people listen, I guess. I don't know.
One of the things that we do too, one of the things me and Sean made sure we did was when we sign guys to contracts, we don't take any movie rights. I don't want anything to do with your success as far as that's concerned. That's you. You did the work. You gave, I can do one thing good. I can put a book out and it's going to look pretty and I'm going to sell the shit out of it. I do get up every day with the goal. The only goal is to make sure I sell as many books that day as possible. But whenever it comes to any particular author's success as far as being able to parlay that book release into something more, that has nothing to do with me. I don't publish comic books. I don't publish movies. I don't, I guess I do make movies, but I don't make Hollywood movies. And our goal isn't to try to siphon off your success whenever it comes to that arena. That's all you. If we are lucky enough to be able to take a project and get it to a point where a movie producer wants to look at it, that means our job is done. We did our job. And if that book gets turned into a movie, we're going to find the success as it trickles down and people buy the book after they've seen the movie. You know what I mean? I don't need to be a part of that. I don't need to try to take your money that you're going to make off of that. Sean and I talk about this all the time. I want all of us to succeed. I want all of us to be making money. Whenever I sit down at the end of the quarter and write checks, I want to be able to write a check big enough that you could pay your rent with it. That's my goal. That's why I'm doing this. I want all of us, because these books are fucking awesome. I mean, I'm as big of a fan of these books as I am, I'm in the business of publishing them, but I read them, daily. When I found bizarro fiction and weird hardcore horror rapey fiction, I was like, this is what I want my life to center around. I love reading it. I love producing it. I love writing it. I love taking it to conventions and fucking selling it. So, that's our main goal. So when I encounter an individual like you, I was talking to Sean about this a few days ago. When I encounter an individual like you that's like, I want motherfuckers to know my name, I'm like, I want motherfuckers to know your name too! And it motivates me to really go out and help sell your book, because I know you're not just going to blow it off and be like, a book? That's a thing I did. I put a book out one time. I know you're not going to react that way. You have something to gain out of this. This is your motivation, so it motivates me to succeed, to help you succeed. So that's, when we sign guys, I look for guys and girls that have that enthusiasm where, make this book sell so I can get to the next level of my career. And I'm like, I'm going to get you there, man. Here, put your foot in my little hand and I'll push you up a little bit. That's my goal, so.
I mean, and you seem like the kind of how I am too. Like, and I know you are, just from the amount of shit that you have come out all the time, and how often you work for the Strange House and these other writers and stuff. But like, even when you do finish something, it's never time to sit back and celebrate. It just means it's time to go to the next thing and continue working some more. Like.
I try to give myself a day to celebrate, and then I move on.
The day to drink those strawberry Ritas or whatever you got back there.
Yes, sir. So let's talk a little bit more about Danger Slater. Let's talk about when you decided this was how motherfuckers were gonna know your name, because you could have been a musician. Look, you're a handsome fella. You could be you kind of look like
your faces you're making right now are fucking making me like you're getting in the camera like fucking growling at us.
You kind of look.
He's cutting a fucking wrestling promo on you, Danger.
You kind of look like Chino Marino from the Deftones. You could have been the lead singer of that band if you were born maybe 5 years earlier. No. So why didn't you choose classical pianist as your career to make motherfuckers know your name?
Well, I don't know, man. I don't know if my hands are big enough to be a good piano player. Especially once I chop the one off and mail it to you, I'm not gonna, it's not gonna really work out. You can always play. Wait, what was the question?
The question is, why did you choose writing fiction as your way to express yourself artistically and get motherfuckers to know your name?
I mean, I always just liked writing. I mean, as far back as I can remember, when I was little, I used to write comic books and stuff. I'm talking like first grade, I would write comic books. And I used to buy comic books and then cut out the characters, and then I would paste them onto a piece of paper and make my own comic books out of the comic books, like write new dialogues for them.
That is awesome.
That's the coolest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Do you save them? Do you still have them? Can we sell them?
I think they're in my mom's, actually. They're probably somewhere. I don't know. But, yeah, and then, like, as I got older, I mean, I got into film and watching movies and stuff, and really got into that, and I wanted to write screenplays, and when I was like in like middle school and high school, but then sometime around high school, I discovered Kurt Vonnegut, which is the person that changed like the course of my whole life. I mean, just reading Kurt Vonnegut for the first time made me realize that maybe this is the place where this thing that I have, that I always wanted to like tell stories or whatever, like this is the way to do it. This is where I can completely control the entire world. When you're writing a book, if you're making a movie, there's like 100 people, 1,000 people, depending on how big like Hollywood movies and shit. There's a lot of people and a lot of cogs moving in different parts. Like when you're writing a book or writing a short story, you control the fucking universe. You control everything everybody says and does and what it looks like. And then even with bizarro fiction and weird fiction and stuff, you can go even further. I mean, there's no limit to the end of it, like, and it's just like, I'm losing my train of thought. There's no limit to the end of where your imagination could go, and people actually are into it with that kind of stuff,
Absolutely. What was it about Kurt Vonnegut in particular? I'm sure you had read novels before him. What was it about Kurt Vonnegut that made you realize this was for you?
Well, I had a really hard time in school. I wasn't a very good student, and I kind of like resented being in school and teachers telling me what to read and shit like that. So there was a little period where I was just kind of angry at like, they'd be like, oh, you have to read the fucking Scarlet Letter, and I'd be like, well, fuck you and your Scarlet Letter. Like, and I'm not saying it's, I mean, as I matured, I mean, my opinion on, I'm not going to say it's my kind of book, but my opinion, I would never say fuck you to fucking some classic work of fiction that is beloved by the world, but, like, I just resented being told that I had to fucking learn or do, but, no one told me to read a Kurt Vonnegut book. I found it in the back of my friend's car, like when we were driving somewhere, and that's when I picked it up and started reading it because we were going on some road trip or something. And like, it's something about it spoke to me. I was just like, oh, it doesn't have to be the Scarlet Letter. Books don't have to be that. Like, this is a guy who's doing something a little bit different. It's funny and it's really dark, and it's about like everything. There's aliens and wars, but it's not like it's not sci-fi. But like, it's just all this crazy shit going on, and it's just like, I don't know. It was just the most interesting thing I had ever read up until that point.
And it was just like, this is what I'm gonna do.
Yeah,
I'm gonna start doing this kind of shit. And
it's one of those moments, man. You don't get those moments that often where like everything seems to come into alignment, and it just like all makes sense. You're like, oh, okay, this is what I need to do.
And had you said, well, this is what I'm going to do, this is what I want my artistic identity to be based on, this is what I want to do with my life, or were just at that point were you ready to take it seriously as a hobby?
No, that's when I said this is what I want to do with my life. It was that, like, I mean, it's weird because I can almost pinpoint the exact second where that all clicked in my head.
Yeah, for me, it was whenever I sat there and watched Mulva Zombie Ass Kicker. That was it. I knew that I had, for me, it was with how shitty Chris's movies were, but they were there. They were done. They had been edited. They'd been released by some big company in Best Buy, even if it was as a special feature on another movie. I was like, this guy, and what connected me to it was that he may have had $3 to spend on the movie, but the dialogue was anything he wanted it to be.
Yeah.
He could have those characters say any fucking thing he wanted to, and he had brilliant, weird-ass shit he was having them say to each other. And I was like, I can write fucking stupid shit like this. And it never occurred to me to be a fiction writer until much later, but that's what made art accessible for me. Like, I had spent a lot of years trying to find an artistic identity. I had something I needed to say, and I could not get it out of me. And it was that moment where I was like, that's my doorway. And I never thought of it as a hobby. I never thought of it as something I was going to get tired of or bored of. And like guys like Sean and Katie here, they've never knew me. They've known me for a decade, and they never knew me before this was my life. Everything they've ever known about me was I'm this dude, this weird fuck, this weird loud fat fuck that makes movies and writes books. And I never looked back. It was one of those things I totally relate to you just being like everything aligned, and I knew this was my purpose on Earth. That's exactly how I felt one day. I could pinpoint the day where I was just like, okay, I figured it out. How old were you when that happened? What was your age at that day, that moment?
I was either 17 or 18. I think.
Oh yeah, well fuck you. I was 25.
Not a competition, Kevin.
Well, I mean, it's not like I was like, I mean, I had this moment, and then it took me at least another 10 years before I got anybody to pay any attention to what I was doing, to get one thing published one place. It took 10 years of writing stories, sending them out, and writing things that weren't that good. I mean, you know.
We all start off terrible.
So it just I mean, and it took a fucking million years. Yeah, it took 10 years to get from that moment to basically the genesis of Danger Slater. Like, you know, when I decided, okay, now I'm gonna start referring to myself like this, maybe, and kind of become, I don't know, Danger Slater, the writer.
Right. Instead, before you were writing as Slater Stagliano.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't catching. Nobody was getting it. No, but that's what I want to talk about next. So you get into Kurt Vonnegut, it connects with you, the fucking stars align, you say, this is it, I'm a writer, my identity in this fucking world, the whole purpose of me being in this stupid rock is to fucking write cool shit like this. What was your process? What did you, from that, you were 17 or 18, that moment when you took pen to paper and said, now I'm a writer, what was your goal? Where were you gonna send these stories to be published, and how often did you write? Did you write a story a year, 10 stories a year? I'm asking you a bunch of questions, so let's start with that one. When you sat down and said, this is what the fuck I do, how often what was your writing schedule like back then?
I mean, it's not like how it is now, where I have a time every day that I do this thing, but I would basically, I carried paper and around with me all the time, and I always had a pen, and I would just kind of write. I'd do it while I was at work. Like, if I ever had an idea for a sentence, I'd run into the back room and write something down.
Chicks fucking love that, didn't they? Like, oh my God, you're a writer? Oh, I want to read your stuff.
Yeah, but then, you know, I'd let them read it, and at that point, they're just like, oh, wait.
It was about puke aliens, and you're like, but puke aliens are cool, baby.
Yeah. So, yeah, so that was like, I mean, yeah, I mean, I took it seriously, but there was no, like, specific process. That's something that is different for every person, and you kind of have to go through a long period of trial and error to figure out your process of when is the best time for me to do this, like, what is going to make me the most creative person. I know now I have almost a little ritual that I do. It's like a 10-minute thing of, like, I'll wake up and I'll make my coffee and I'll do a couple things before I start writing, so that my head is completely clear and I have nothing else to think about except for what is ever going to come out of my fingers when I sit down.
So what was the time period? When was young Slater Stagliano? Was it late 90s, early 2000s, late 2000s? When was the 17-year-old Slater Stagliano first getting started developing his fictional persona?
I mean, I don't know. I just was writing all the time. Anytime I could
find
it.
What was it? I mean, what year was this? Was it the late 90s, early 2000s?
Yeah, it was let's say between 2000. I graduated high school in 2001, so that was between 2000 and probably 2004, 2005. It's like the nascent stages of learning how to do this.
So this weird kind of indie horror bizarro thing was just getting its legs around this time, but I'm guessing you didn't have any idea that it was out there, that it existed.
I did not know.
So what was back even in 2000, 2001, the publishing industry was still kind of dominated by New York City. If you weren't sending stuff, you know, the internet wasn't quite at the broadband point yet, so you had websites, but it was you didn't have really big dominating like web zines that you could submit fiction to like you do now. So what was your process? You would write these stories. You were developing your identity as an author. What was your goal with these stories? Where were these stories going to go out to?
I mean, I would try and send them to magazines, but like you were saying, this was even at the point where like you would like the internet wasn't this big thing, or if it was, I didn't know where to find shit, you know. So I would print them out and put them in envelopes and like actually mail physical short stories to like random magazines that I thought would be interested in them, and like. It was shit that I was finding in like a Barnes and Noble, like magazines that would put short stories, like big magazines, like I don't know. I was shooting for the stars, I guess. But
were you doing like the sci-fi magazines, like Starlog and shit like that? Was that what you were going for? Because back then, like in probably 99, 2000, I was real big. Me and my buddies would go to we would get stoned and we would drive to Borders or Barnes and Noble, and we would spend hours in the store. And one of the sections that we spent a lot of time in, they had that back then. Magazines still dominated the fucking planet, so you just had hundreds of magazines on these racks, and a lot of them were like speculative fiction and science fiction and horror fiction magazines that were published monthly or quarterly. Were those the ones that you were snatching those up and sending stuff out to them?
I mean, to a degree, yes, but also not really, because I didn't really feel like my stuff would fit in with like a science fiction magazine, because I was writing. I didn't know there was such a thing as bizarro fiction then, but I mean that's kind of what I was writing, just like weird shit, and I didn't know where to send it. You know, it was like funny little stories that had blood and tits and guts and just like whatever, you know, like. So I mean that was a big part of the challenge, is like you're doing this and you're developing as a writer or trying to, but it's hard to get feedback or even know if your stuff's any good because you're not bouncing it off of anybody, you know.
Do you have any teachers that were encouraging, or was that completely out of the question?
I had maybe two. I tried to go to college. I took like a semester at a community college. And actually, my writing teacher, I did take a creative writing class there, and the teacher was very supportive of me, but not very helpful in the fact of I really wanted to get better at writing, and he would just be like, "Oh, you're writing pretty good stuff," you know, like because I guess compared to some of the kids in the class who just take it because they think it's an easy A because it doesn't require that much, I guess, textbook work.
Absolutely, yeah. So, you're not having to read a ton of. I mean, even though you are reading, you're not reading a bunch of technical bullshit out of it. That was my biggest issue in fucking college, man. Was being told, all right, now read chapters 7 through 85, and get back to us on Monday, and we're gonna have a quiz, and then we're gonna take a test. So, and it was literally just like, you really just want me to read this fucking technical chapter and then regurgitate it and do a series of answers on a fucking. It's how fucking boring is this? Let's have some fucking interaction. Like I excelled in film classes, writing classes, and for some reason, history classes. I really dug history because if you're going to ask me to absorb something and then regurgitate it at you, I at least want to, you know, history to me is just a series of stories that may or may not have been true. You know, based on the country or the region that won the wars in that time, they got to shape history however they won it. But those were, in my mind, those were the stories from that period, so I could easily get into that. I could sit back and read 12 chapters on history because I was just reading about people killing things. Because if you look at history books, it's almost exclusively like, so this dude decided he was going to poison and murder this dude and take his wife, rape her and have 5 kids, and then he took over half the world, and then he was poisoned himself, and then his son took over and did the same thing after destroying all evidence that his father ever lived. It's like, this is brutal shit that I'm reading about, and this supposedly really happened. So I was good in that department, but everything else was just like, get the fuck out of here, psychology. Get the fuck out of here, sociology. I don't want to regurgitate these fucking chapters back at you.
I remember. Okay, this is when I decided to stop going to college. I went to, I guess the course. I don't even know what these fucking people are called. One of these ladies that work in the office that help you decide which classes to take for the next semester.
Yeah, guidance council. Well, they call it, whatever. The guidance department.
You know what? There's all these weird words like the Berkshire or something. I don't even know. Okay. So I was talking to one of these ladies, and I was sitting in her office, and I was like, look, all I really want to do is be a writer, so I don't really want to take any of these other classes that have anything to do with this. And she's like, well, you might not get a degree and stuff. And I'm like, well, I don't care then. I just want writing classes. I'm like, can we just do it that way? He's like, can I like non-matriculate or something, or just like not work for a degree? Like, I don't care. I just want to write better. And I forgot. We were sitting there talking, and she's really trying to get me to like, you know, take like a math class or some other class.
Yeah, she just wants to get you in the basic core curriculum because that's what they.
Yeah, and then she goes, what do you do now? And I worked at ShopRite then. Yeah, I worked in the frozen food section of ShopRite, and ShopRite's a grocery store. I don't know if they're all over the country. For anyone who visited New Jersey, ShopRite is a grocery store. That's where I worked then. And she's like, well, you know, I don't know many famous writers that come out of ShopRite, meaning that's why I needed to sit there. And I got so fucking angry and insulted. Like, it was just the fucking worst thing in the world. So I just completely stopped going. And then, ironically, last year I got a job again. One of my day jobs is at ShopRite, and I work there right now. So I am a fucking writer who works at ShopRite. So fuck her.
We've lost your video.
You lost my video?
Oh, it's back now. Never mind.
We're
good. It might have been a hiccup here on my end. Sorry. So you've come full circle now, and you've been like, you know what? I don't have to go to this fucking college. I'm gonna be a famous writer. I'm gonna be a fucking famous writer. I'm gonna show you. And now I'm back into the grocery store.
Yeah, well, I'm just, you know, like, stuff like that is what pisses me off. That's part of what motivates me. People saying you can't do this, or you have to do it this way. Like, the only right way to do it is your own way, or the way that makes sense to you. There's no right way to succeed, you know?
Right, like, absolutely. Success is a line that looks like this.
Yeah.
With every point being a big old fat failure. Fuck this up, I fucked this up over here, I fucked this up over here, and if you're lucky you learn like 6 points in there are the ones that actually mattered, and you finally made your way up to the successful point. That's just life. That's just how it fucking works. And anybody that tells you differently is obviously not successful. They haven't been through all the bullshit failures. So here we are. It's the early 2000s. Danger Slater, still writing as Slater Stagliano, he's sending stuff out to magazines. He's starting to develop what Danger Slater is eventually going to become. When did you find your first bit of success in that process? You were sending stuff out. I'm guessing sometimes you would get rejection letters. Sometimes you wouldn't even get it. Most of the time, probably you wouldn't even get a return email or letter, or even get your stuff back in the mail. So at what point, how long were you at this, and how many stories roughly do you think you submitted to magazines before you got your first success, before you got your first acceptance?
There even comes a point where, especially like in the early days like then too, where it just, you're submitting stuff and you're getting rejected left and right, and you're running out of places to send stuff because you don't know where, and you just kind of like, I don't want to say give up, but you're just like, and I never stopped writing, but I stopped looking for places to send this shit. I'm like, I don't know what to fucking do with this stuff anymore. Like, so this, I mean, and the stories are just piling up, you know, because I'm writing this entire time. I'd probably fucking 100 stories I might have written in that time between point A, which was, I guess, graduating high school, and point B, which was the first piece that actually got published somewhere.
We've lost Sean and Katie.
Oh yeah, we did.
Somehow. Let's see if we can get them back. So what was it? What was this? What was the acceptance? Where did you finally get accepted to?
Well, after, I mean, so at some point around, some point in the middle of all that is when I discovered bizarro fiction. Kind of the same way I discovered, like we were talking about Chris Seaver before, like you find something that you're into, and then you kind of start working your way down this rabbit hole back from that. And I remember like hearing like Carlton Mellick's name, and maybe I was naive then, but I would go to like the fucking Barnes & Noble and I'm looking for it. I'm like, where are these motherfuckers' books? Like, I saw this dude on Amazon. This shit sounds awesome. Like, where's this? Where are the fucking books? And then I'd be like, all right, well, maybe I just went to the small Barnes & Noble. So I'd drive like another 20 miles down the road to the bigger Barnes & Noble, and it still wasn't there. And I'm just like, man, do I have to go to the one in the fucking city? Like, which one carries this guy's books?
Right.
So, like, I kind of fell down that rabbit hole of just, like, discovering all these different bizarro writers and tracing their stuff back. You would find these online magazines where they would get published and stuff like that, and kind of see their trajectory of where they were starting. And from there, it kind of like you kind of branch off and find all these other little magazines that also are doing kind of the same thing. So my first acceptance was with Jersey Devil Press, and that was in early 2010. That was the first short story I ever got published. I was really excited.
How fucking stoked were you for that? Were you like, oh my god, there it is?
I was jumping up and down.
There
I
it
actually
is.
jumped up and down when I got my first one. It was really exciting.
What was the story?
It was about the apocalypse. Well, it was called Snowpocalypse. I still post a link to it whenever we have a really bad snowstorm up in like Jersey or something. Hey, back.
Hey, we got a storm going on right now. It apparently knocked out my internet, so I got on my phone.
Shit. All right, welcome back. We're talking to Danger. He was finally published for the first time in 2010, which means he went nearly a decade in the dark. A decade in the dark. How many times during that decade, and like you said, it had sort of slowed down at that point. How many times during that decade were you like, I can't do it. I have to stop. I have to go back to college. I have to talk to that guidance counselor cunt again and tell her that I really do need these math classes. How many times did you go through that?
Well, I never went. I need to go back to school, but I was just there was a lot of like. It's just part of it. It's still part of it. It doesn't really go away totally. I mean, you sit down, even, I'm writing something now. I'm trying to write a new book. I got a whole first draft done, and I'm sitting there going through it. I'm just like, I don't know if I like this. And then I'm like, I don't know if I could even fucking write this. I don't know if I can write this thing. I don't know if I'm any good. Like, it never really goes away. I mean, so
I talked to Carlton a few weeks ago about a new book he was working on, and I forget what question I asked him that prompted this response, but his response was, it never gets easy. It's never easy. He's written 44 novels, and every time he sits down with a blank page, you have to go through all of the, what are you doing, Sean?
Sorry, I'm going out in the garage. I'm still listening to you. Don't stop for me.
Well, we're listening to you walk around.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, I have a very loud and creaky house. I apologize.
Yes. So he said, it was really profound whenever he said, like, it's never easy. And every time he sits down to a new blank page, he goes through and it's like the mourning process, except it's a weird writer thing where you're super excited about it. I just lost my video. Can you guys still see my video?
Yeah, I still got you.
All right, this is just, it's being fucked up. All right, so you go through like this excited phase where you're like, fuck yeah, this is my idea, I'm going to write it down. And you get into it, and you're typing it out, and doubt will creep into the back of your fucking skull. And my thing is, this is how I don't know about you, Danger, but my whole thing is I try to race the doubt. If I can keep working on a project and just never stop working on it, I can outrace the doubt and get the first draft done before I ever stop and consider whether this is a piece of shit or not. If I slow down, if I'm really busy working on Strange House releases or quarterly sales or taxes or whatever the fucking a really shitty period at work, and I hit these road bumps where I can't work on a story for a while, and I'll get maybe 5,000, maybe 10,000 words into it, and then it stalls out. If I give myself room, if I give myself a month, I'll fucking hate every bit of it. That doubt will just consume me, and I start back over, and I'm like, was that ever a good idea to begin with, or am I just fucking an idiot? And I'm a dude that's written a couple of novels. I've written a ton of short stories. I've written a bunch of movies. Like, it just never, no matter what project I'm working on, it never gets. I never am like, I'm the guy that can write things. So here I go. I wrote it, and it's done, and let's put it out. Next thing. I'm always racing doubt. Are you? Does the same thing happen to you?
I don't think I race it like that. I think I kind of like wallow in it for a while. Really it. I like it's just like you have to believe that you are better than you, just better. You just have to believe that you could do it better because eventually, if you keep working on it hard enough and keep, I mean, for me, I'm a rewriter. I rewrite over and over and over again. I'll rewrite. Every sentence has to sound the right way, and all those sentences in a paragraph have to sound the right way. And I'll spend just a whole writing session working on one paragraph. Like, I mean, it's not always. Sometimes I'll be able to bust out like 500 words or something crazy or 1,000 words, but sometimes you'll just sit there and I'll just rewrite a paragraph over and over and over again until it's good, and then I go, okay, I'm gonna move on. And another part too is like I was saying too, like I don't try to outrace it, but if I'm trying to work on a first draft, I could get stuck in that rewriting loop sometimes. So if I feel that's starting to happen, I'll force myself to stop rewriting that section and just be like, why don't I just kind of like skip over this now and I'll start writing the book or a story or anything out of order so that I never really get stuck in a certain spot.
That's interesting. I always find that if I write out of order, I cheat because I tend to put. I'm a very I'm a third act guy. I do a very heavy third act, so I'll spend the first act just setting up, just hinting at little cool things, little Easter eggs that are going to happen. I do a lot of foreshadowing and a lot of hint dropping, and then I'm going to really hit the gas pedal in the third act and do all this crazy cool shit. And I find that if I try to jump to the third act and write the cool stuff, I'm cheating myself. Like I have to go through the process of writing the character development and setting up the plot and getting all the pieces in play before I can have fun down here in the third act and go nuts. So, because I've done that before, I've written out of order, and I find that if I write all the cool stuff and then I just have the boring stuff left over, I don't want to do it. I'll convince myself not to write the boring stuff. So I make myself write in sequence every time now.
Well, I mean, I'll spend a decent amount of time on the beginning before I would jump around. I like building a character, so that's my favorite part of the writing process is probably the first half of it too. I mean, I like a big ending too, but I like the first half where I get to like really find the character's voice and find who they are as a person and figure out what this character's arc is going to be. Like, what about this story that I'm about to send them on is going to change them, and in what way is it going to change them? Are they going to be better, worse? Like, what's going to happen at the like? So I spend a lot of time concentrating on that. And I write in the first person a lot too, so it's really fun to like get into somebody else's head, Yeah.
So in your first draft, you try not to get stuck in the rewriting loop and making everything sound perfect. So in the first time you set it out, you're just trying to build it, and then you go back and obsessively construct each paragraph afterwards, or is it sort of like you'll write a little bit here and leave this alone, and then you'll come back to it at the next writing session? Is it kind of random like that, or do you try to just bust through the first draft entirely before you start to really pick apart how you're saying each sentence in each paragraph?
I'll pick apart the beginning. Like I said, the beginning I'll pick it apart as the first time I go through it. I'm like, I really want a strong sense of a character, because if I can't find the character from the onset, like, it doesn't matter where I'm going to send them. It's going to be in vain, because if the character, or I don't identify with the character, a reader's not going to identify with the character, and then it doesn't matter what the hell they're doing, because they don't give a shit about this person,
Right.
So I'll spend a lot of time on that first section in rewriting and making sure I found my voice that I want to tell the story in. And then after that, it just starts kind of skipping around. Maybe I'll work on the next chapter, or if I'm having trouble and I know there's a cool scene coming up, I'll just skip right to the scene and be like, I'll figure out how to connect these two things later on. Yeah, and then once I get the first draft done, then I start going through in order, usually as part of the rewriting process of the second, third draft, or whatever.
And this happens in the morning. You wake up and you spend your first 2 or 3 hours going through writing what you're going to take care of for the day. Do you come back to your writing ever afternoon or evening, or do you just strictly write during that first period during the day and then come back to it the next morning?
I find the morning is the best time for me, so I've tried to build a life around being able to wake up in the morning, and I'll get up early. Like, I used to have a job where I'd have to get up like and be at work at like 9 o'clock, and I knew I liked to wake up and write, and I would be tired when I would come home from this job, and I wouldn't be able to write, or I wouldn't be able to think as clearly. So what I used to do is set an alarm and get up at like 6 o'clock in the morning, so that I can. It sounds crazy, but I would get up and write before I would go to work, and then I'd leave for work at like 8:30 or whatever. I'd be like, well, fuck, I could be tired for work. I don't give a shit if I'm tired there. Like, but if I'm tired, I won't be able to think straight, like, and write well, you know.
No, it doesn't sound crazy. You know, what it sounds like is it sounds like a successful fucking author explaining his process. Because every prolific author I have ever looked into, that I've ever read interviews with, they all say the same thing. I get up in the morning and I spend the first period of my day writing, and then I have the rest of my day to work or do whatever it is that I need to do. And those are the people that end up with 30, 40, 50, 60, 100 novels. The people that kind of randomly fuck around. I've lost my video again. Am I still there for you guys?
Yeah.
You still here for me?
I don't know why it's doing that like that. There I am. Okay.
You did get a little weird for a second there.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. But anyway, so the people that kind of like randomly write whenever, they never seem to get a whole lot done. It's when you create that pattern. What is that noise? Is that the storm outside your house, Sean?
Can you hear that, really?
It was just rumbling, so...
Well, you live like a half hour from me. It's not storming there.
Uh-oh. Is it freezing?
Yeah, we lost your video there.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine, yeah.
Oh, no.
Technical difficulties.
It's the storm.
That's weird. Is it not storming there?
No, it hasn't started here yet, which is cool because we've only got a few minutes left, so we'll get done with this before the storm gets down here. But anyway, so yeah, no, I admire that structure that you create for yourself, Danger, because I don't get to do that as much as I want to. And my goals as an author are to be as prolific as possible. I would love to put 100 books out before I die, but it's I find it difficult to have that stringent kind of structure that you give yourself, that daily ritual that you're able to put yourself in. And I have yet to meet an individual or talk to an individual that is able to build the type of writing life that you've built that hasn't been successful. So your future is nothing but bright, sir. If my opinion means anything of you, I think that you have nothing but the best life ahead of you as a writer if you just keep and I don't have to tell you that, so just keep pounding and pounding and pounding on the keyboard, because you're going to be one of the big names one day, for sure, without a doubt. I have no question in my mind. That's why I'm so pickled. I'm so pickled to get to work with you on this project in particular. Now let's take it a little bit further now. So you got a short story published with Jersey Devil.
Okay.
Jersey Devil put out a short story that was in 2010, and that was the moment the yes, I finally fucking accomplished it. I got something fucking published. Fuck you, bitch, at the community college that thinks my save right job's all I'll ever do. So at what point did you transition from your first short story publication to the partnership you created with Rooster Republic Press? How did that come about? How did those two events? What happened between those two events?
Well, I mean, Jersey Devil was a big part of getting this whole thing started for me. They Eric, the guy who ran it then, he doesn't run it anymore, but he doesn't run the magazine at least anymore. But he was just a really cool guy. He liked my story that I sent him so much that they were doing like an anthology that summer or later that year of like their best, and they're like, oh, we want you to be a part of it. And I was like, oh really? I was all honored and shit. And so like, not only did I get something published, but people are telling me that they fucking like it. It was like really exciting for me. And then and he kept asking me like, oh, we're gonna do a best of like all our favorite authors. Do you want to be in this issue of the magazine and stuff too? And I was like, oh hell yeah, I'll write something. And then I happened to be writing a book called Love Me, and that it was taking me a really long time to write it, but I was kind of getting towards the end of that process, and I knew that they had put out 1 or 2 books, Jersey Devil did, so I asked him if he would consider taking a look at it, and he was like, yeah, of course. So he did, and he liked it, and they put out Love Me. So that was actually my first book, and then kind of from there, I got... How did I get in touch with fucking Rooster Republic? I don't even remember.
Well, first of all, before we get to that, how was your first novel received? Was it what you when you went into this, you were like, oh my god, here it is. I'm gonna get my first fucking novel published. This is I'm here. I'm a writer. This is me. This is Danger Slater is finally finally the writer that I've spent a decade trying to build and trying to get out into the world. What were your expectations of that book? Did ultimately were your expectations met, or were they not met with that publication?
I mean, I didn't really have any expectations. Like I was saying before, this is just something that I've always wanted to do and done. And you go for fucking years without anybody paying attention or giving a shit. So I didn't really have any high expectations for it. But it was generally, I mean, I use kind of Goodreads as kind of like where I go to see if people are reading my book or anything like that. I don't really check Amazon all that much. Usually the reviews on Goodreads are also on Amazon too. So, but yeah, like people were saying good things. People liked it, and yeah, I don't know. It was good. It was a good process. I mean, I wasn't discouraged for 1 second. All I was like, let me work on the next thing now. Like I'm done with this. I kind of do this thing where, like, when I finish a short story or I finish a book, I'll continue to promote it. I'll promote it forever, everything I've ever done. But I don't go back and look at my own stuff once I'm done with it. I don't ever. I mean, I'll never crack my book unless like someone wants me to read some of it to them. I won't sit there and read my fucking book or anything like that. I'm not that kind of person that like gets like. I don't. I'm trying to think of what I'm trying to say.
You don't dwell on it.
Yeah,
you let it go. You put it out in the world, and it belongs to the people. No longer belongs to the author. I feel exactly what you're saying with that. So, as far as the work itself, Love Me.
Yeah.
Do you feel like when it was all said and done and you put it out, was it what you wanted as your first novel? Do you feel like you were able to, your voice and the way you said you like to write in particular sentences and particular paragraphs, do you feel like Danger Slater is well represented in that book, or do you look back on it as an earlier work that maybe was a little less refined than the Danger that we know today?
I mean, I'm of the ilk where I'm like, whatever I just finished, I always think is one of my best things. So I don't, because that came out in like 2011, and now we're almost in the middle of 2014. So it's been 3 years almost. So I think I'm a better writer than I was then. But I don't look back on that and go, oh man, this was like my first shitty novel. Like, what the fuck was I thinking? I could have written this so much better now. I mean, I probably could write that same book better now. But I mean, it's what am I gonna do? It's too late. I already made it. It's out there. It's like you just said. It's not mine anymore. It belongs to the world to read and to think. So, I'm totally cool with that being that way. I mean, it's something that I did. I'm super proud of it, and that's it. Yeah.
We're at an hour now. We've been doing this an hour, and I said we'd probably go an hour, but I'd really like to get us up to the current timeline in your writing career. If you're comfortable with doing a few more minutes and kind of going through your relationship with Rooster Republic and the books that you've released through them, and then up through Roadvolution, which we're going to do through Strange House. Do you want to stick around and go through that?
Yeah, sure. That's fine.
So, all right. So Love Me came out. And like you said, it was generally well received. You were happy with it personally. You gave it to the people, and you were ready to work on your next project. And what was that project, and how did you get in contact with the good folks?
You said you gave it to the people like I'm this fucking kid. I'm just like, Moses coming down from the fucking mountain. It's like my tablet, I'm just like,
Absolutely.
Unto you, my gift. You know, like.
Absolutely. Hey, welcome back, Sean.
Fucking internet and phone. Fuck them all.
We'll be all right, man. We'll be all right. We got your back. We're good.
This state sucks.
I agree. So, what was next on the Danger Slater train?
Well, next is you try. I mean, next for me was trying to write a second book, which didn't work.
Now, a lot of people, I found this is the same kind of thing that happens with bands, with their second album, with filmmakers, with their second movie, and with authors, especially with their second novel. You get the sophomore jitters. You have expectations of yourself that weren't there when you were just like, I have to be heard. You're gonna take this book and you're gonna fucking read it. And then once that happens, and once now you're a person. Now Danger Slater is an author. He exists in the world. His book is on Amazon. There are now expectations that fans, things that you never had before, suddenly are expecting the next work from Danger Slater. Did you allow yourself to succumb to the sophomore jitters, or were you able to get past that easily?
I'm going to say I succumbed to the sophomore jitters. There's an unfinished book from right after I finished Love Me. So like I said, I immediately started writing something else. I probably have about 15,000 words of a book that's half written that maybe I'll come back to one day, but for right now it's just sitting in a Tupperware container under my bed with crap.
And what happened to it? What was the problem? Why did you only make it 15,000 words into this book?
I don't know. I like you said, maybe there was expectations or something. I don't know what happened, to be honest with you. I just couldn't finish that one. I don't know.
And did you have a verbal agreement in place with Jersey Devil to publish that second book, or was this second book going to go back out into the unknown wilderness of author?
Yeah, there was no agreement or anything. I was just doing it because, it's just what I do. So I was just continuing to do what I do. I was like, all right, finish the book. Let's write a new book.
So this one stalled out and you couldn't get it done. Was it a writer's block type situation where you just couldn't do the work? The ideas weren't coming to you, or what was the issue?
To be honest, I don't think I really liked my characters. I didn't know. Like we were saying before, it's a blank slate. You're starting new every single time. It's not like I'm just taking the template of the last book I wrote and then switching out 5 words, and now, oh, look, here's a new book.
For non-writers, the easiest way I found to relate to people and get people to understand what writing fiction, and especially long fiction, is everybody in high school and college had to write research papers. And the biggest hurdle to overcome is picking the right subject. If you pick some dumbass thing to write your research paper on, you're not going to be able to find resources for it. You're not going to be able to figure out how to break that thing down into 10 pages and hit all the points that you're supposed to hit, and you end up floundering and falling on your ass, unable to complete the work and having to start over because you didn't start with a good core idea. And writing a novel is the same way. If you don't have characters you can relate to, a plot that makes sense, and cool stuff for them to do, and a badass ending, it's really easy to get started on something and just go nowhere with it and have to just be like, all right, fuck that, let's find a new idea. That's the most important. The critical thing about a work is finding that, you have to have that subject. That subject has to be there. And most writers, fuck you, Sean. What I do and what I found most other writers do, and I want to ask you if you do this process as well, is a lot of what my writing is based on, and it ends up being like mutant fucking vampire monsters fucking each other and lots of carnage, but it always starts off with a particularly traumatic emotional experience in my life, and that's the thing I hold on to. Brian Keene calls it a ghost. You have to infuse your project with a ghost or a soul, and that has to come from a point in you that has energy, that really affected you, that left a mark on you. And if you can infuse a subject, if you can infuse a project with that soul, then you can build that, and you can stay excited and enthusiastic about it, even when the doubt is creeping in, even when you think that maybe this isn't the best thing in the world. If you remember back to that, oh yeah, but I have to get this out. I have to get this out of me. Do you work that way? Because every single thing I write comes from an emotional experience I've had.
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, when you're writing a character, I mean, you're in the head of the character, and you need to find the place where you and this person that you're creating connect. So, because I mean, like, you creating him, you're making everything he says and does is what you want to happen. But you need to find it. But at the same time, it's not totally you, because you're trying to make somebody that feels and is, for all intents and purposes, a real person, real in the fiction of the story. So there's I think it's an acting method called Stanislavski or something like that, where I could be totally wrong on this, but I think that's like where you to find a character, you have to think about how you would react if you were in the situation that the character was in, and then you base your own reaction, like, is the basis, your jumping off point of how you figure out how that character is going to react.
Yeah.
So it's almost the same thing, except I'm not acting, I'm thinking it up. So you go, how would I react if, whatever the fucking thing is, there's a monster chasing after me, like, what would be going through my head? Where would I want to hide? And it'd be like, look, this character is different than me. How is he different? And then how, or she, and what would be going through their heads? Where would we be meeting? It mentally, like.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like where I kind of connect to the characters in a story. And before too, when we were talking about, I said I got 15,000 words into this second book that didn't get finished because I wasn't connecting with the character like that. And I mean, you had to. It's like swimming with a fucking ball around your leg, and you're fighting, and there's some point where you either have to get to the shore, or you're gonna fucking drown, or cut the ball loose, so you can get to the shore. But I don't know if that fucking metaphor made any sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree, 100%.
But yeah, you have to know to either cut the fucking ball off, or if you're gonna get to the shore with it,
Yeah.
You need to know the right time to quit, and it was just, I had to quit it because it wasn't going anywhere for me.
And so where did you go from there? You ended the second book prematurely. Did you go back to writing short fiction? And at what point in that process did you meet up with Seamus and Arthur from Rooster Republic Press?
Yeah, I tend to think of short fiction as almost like a palate cleanser. Like, not that it's easier, because I mean but it's just shorter, so you don't have to, like, if you're gonna write a book, it's gonna take months. If you're gonna write a piece of short fiction, it might take a couple weeks, at the most. So yeah, I went back to writing some short fiction, and the dudes from Rooster Republic got in touch with me for one of those Tall Tales with Short Cox books, the second one.
Right.
And you were in the third one, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I had submitted the short story to them, and they had liked it, and I was in that, and then they were following me on Facebook, or Seamus was following me on Facebook, and I had just gotten fired from a job, and so I was sitting around kind of doing nothing, and he just sent me a message. He's just like, hey man, I know you just got fired for a job. Like, are you writing anything? He's like, maybe you should send it over to us when you're done. And I was like, well, I mean, I'm not really writing anything, but I had this idea. So I'm like, I'll send it over there if you want when I'm done. So that's kind of how I got involved with them. Kind of reached out to me.
Now, did they find you for for Tall Tales with Short Cox Volume 2, did they find you based on your work, based on Love Me through Jersey Devil? Is that how they found you, or did they find you in another? Did they ever tell you how they ended up?
I think it had to have been that. I mean, it was definitely through Goodreads. I mean, that's how I was meeting a lot of the other writers and people who read my books and stuff, and readers and stuff. Like, I thought Goodreads was fucking awesome. I love that site. It kind of switched to Facebook now. Like, slowly my Facebook newsfeed is just being taken over by other writers. It used to be like my family and people I went to high school with, but now it's just like other writers, and like, that's all I see is just other writers right now. So which is fine, you know. Writer, I mean, they're posting shit that I'm actually interested in. Like some girl I haven't talked to since high school had a fucking baby. I'm like, that's great for you, but like, I really don't give a shit. Like,
and this whole project, this whole relationship started on Facebook. I mean, that's how it's the easiest way to communicate with each other now. And it's, you know, I also find that it's easy to find out. It's easy to see if somebody's a fucking freak, man. If they're starting shit in groups or there's a constant drama on their Facebook page, and when they start talking to you and trying to create a relationship with you, you can creep over to their page and you can kind of watch and see, like, is this dude cool or is he going to be a fucking crazy person? Because, again, you said you don't deal with a lot of crazy people. I deal with crazy people every fucking day. I have, like, some kind of I draw crazy people to me, so I have to be... Facebook, it's real easy to see how stable someone is emotionally in their lives and whether or not they're worth working with or if they're going to cause you a nightmare. So that's why I like communicating with other authors and publishers on Facebook, because it's hard to cover up crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I normally just post like jokes. I just like anything that fucking pops in my head, I just post up there.
You post
usually,
hilarious shit.
Yeah. You know,
what was the thing you posted yesterday? I forget what it was, but I laughed my ass off when I read it.
I posted something
it was something about. It was about ironic, growing ironic. Was it growing an ironic mustache after it was no longer ironic? Is that what it was?
I said I'm waiting for the ironic mustache to become unironic again, so that I can grow an ironic mustache.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's the kind of shit that you see from Danger Slater every day. Every day I log into Facebook and he's got some nonsense like that, and that's awesome. That's what. You know what happens? That's how writers should communicate with their fans.
It's fucking. It's not like I'm sitting there like compiling things I'm gonna post on Facebook, but when I'm sitting down to write, like sometimes I'll get like little funny ideas that don't fit into what I'm writing. So I'm just like, oh, it's still a funny joke, like, or it's still just not funny. I'm just gonna put it up there, like, and whatever. People think it's funny.
Yeah, definitely. So you were in contact now with Arthur through Goodreads and with Seamus through Facebook, and Seamus said, "Why don't you send something over, buddy?" And what did that project end up becoming?
I was starting to work on a short story, which I was realizing was going to be a little bit longer, almost a novella. Like, so I told them, I'm like, "Hey, man, I'm writing this thing right now, and it's going to be a novella." And I'm like, "What if I did like a couple of novellas and we put them together?" And he's like, "Yeah, that could be cool." So we did I did three novellas with him. We put it under the same cover, and it's called Dangerama, and that was my last book before the book that's about to come out with you.
That's the one that I don't remember exactly how we met on Facebook and connected, but I remember seeing, like, I was those guys at Rooster Republic contacted me to be in Tall Tales with Shortcocks Volume 3. It was actually Arthur invited me to submit on Goodreads, and then Seamus told me that I'd been accepted, and we got started having a relationship on Facebook, a sexual relationship on Facebook, and so I started to check them out. Like, I checked out their website. I was like, what am I getting myself into? These guys, you know, at that point in time, I get contacted a lot more now about being involved in anthologies and things like that. But back at that time, that may have been it wasn't the first time, but it was maybe the second or third time someone had contacted me directly and said, "Hey, will you please write us something?" I was like, who are these fucking freaks? Because, again, I'm a freak magnet, so I never know. I go into every experience apprehensive, like, oh, geez, what do you want? Who are you now? What do you want from me? And so I checked out their website, and I really liked the cover on Dangerama. I thought it was cool. Did I seek you out and add you on Facebook, or did you seek me out and add me?
I don't remember. I feel like there was like a month or 2 months where like it's just like everyone just discovered each other all at the same time. Like, so like in this storm of just like I was getting like fucking 5 or 6 friend requests a day, and I was sending them out too. Like, I just don't remember.
Yeah, so we all sort of the whole bizarro and indie horror community sort of found each other all around the same time in 2012. Like, all the new, because Eraserhead Press and Lazy Fascist and Deadite, they've been going strong since 2000. What would you say? That, well, I know it was like 2009 when Deadite bought all the New York publisher. What were they called? Dorchester. They bought out all the Dorchester books by Brian Keene, Ed Lee. All that stuff was reprinted through Deadite, and that was like the surge when I guess they got a lot of money coming in from those reprints. So it was like the Eraserhead's been around since 2001. I think Deadite was like 2002 or maybe even also in 2001, but it was like 99 when it went crazy, and they really started. They put out. I talked to Rose one time. They were at one point putting out 85 books a year through the various imprints, and that was around the 2009-2010 period. I personally was still. I was so focused on being the best Chris Seaver I could be by being the closest thing, the biggest ripoff of Chris Seaver I could possibly be. There's actually a review out there. I'll link it to you sometime. There's a review out there that starts off with, Chris Seaver is the worst filmmaker in the world. Imagine a filmmaker who wanted to be Chris Seaver, and now you have Kevin Strange.
I told you the first time you showed me a Chris Seaver movie, I looked at you and I said, you're just ripping off this guy. That's all we've been doing this whole time.
Katie had been working with me for
so mad.
She had been working with me for like 4 years on movies, and had been in 3 or 4 of my films, and had no idea that I was just blatantly absolutely nut writing this other director. But I was so focused on that. I was so focused on indie film and going to conventions and doing film festivals and just waiting to see what Chris Seaver did next so I could try to do it too. That I missed the whole Bizarro boat, dude. I did not even see, as that stuff was coming. I think Carlton was really getting big in like 2005, 2006, and Brian Keene released The Rising in 2001, and so this whole rise of alternative literature that you weren't going to find, like you said, you were going to bookstores and looking for them. I missed the whole boat, dude. It was 2000, like late 2000. I want to get this right. I think it was early 2011, because it was by late 2011 I had already started Strange House, so it had to have been early 2011 or late 2010 that I was like, I had quit filmmaking. Fuck this. I'm never going to be anything. I can't, Chris Seaver isn't even that successful. Why did I ever want to fucking be this guy? What the fuck was I thinking? Like, I'm never going to get anywhere with film, but I have this voice. I have to, maybe I'll start writing fiction. And, so I had all this catching up to do. When I discovered the Bizarro scene, I was like, oh, holy shit! Look at all this shit! And it had already, like, Eraserhead was already doing 5 books a year by that point, and I was just playing catch up. Like, how can I rip these guys off? How can I rip these guys off successfully? So yeah, we all sort of. It was like sometime in 2012 where all of the like alt literature people really started to find each other on Facebook, and we undoubtedly found our connection in that way. And again, I was already familiar with you through your relationship with Rooster Republic, and as I said, those guys, they generally don't work with the crazies and the freaks, so I knew when you contacted me about the possibility of doing this book that I didn't have anything to worry about with you. Now, I wasn't sure how our relationship was gonna go as far as whether we were going to be able to work together, and we're not actually working on a project together. These are 2 separate novellas. One is called Roadvolution by Danger Slater, that has nothing to do with Computer Face by Kevin Strange. We're just mashing them up in the same book. It's a double novella release. But that still requires us to do business. We still had to sign you to a contract. You still had to have faith in us that we're not going to fuck you over in the way that... There are many ways a publisher can fuck over an author, and many ways an author can be a headache to a publisher, and we still had to go through those steps. And we're not quite there yet. The book hasn't been released, but I have had nothing but a positive experience with you so far. From your own encouraging words towards me when I was having trouble finishing my novella, to our collaboration on putting together the cover based on Luke Spooner's cover art, by even choosing the artist that we were going to use for the cover. All of those experiences with you have been nothing but positive. You've been one of the best, most professional authors I've ever worked with, while also just being a cool guy. We have the same sense of humor, so I don't feel like I have to like hold my tongue with you. I can fuck with you and say stupid shit, and you're not going to get mad at me, and your ego isn't so fucking huge. Even though this is the guy that says, I want motherfuckers to know my name, you're humble enough to know what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are. And you also, you're not expecting the stars out of this project. So you're the perfect author for me. You have a big enough ego that you want the project to succeed and are willing to promote it, but at the same time, you know your strengths and you know that I have a job to do and I do it well, and you leave me to it. You defer to me in areas that you don't understand or aren't particularly good at, and that's what I thrive on. Like I said earlier, it's like your enthusiasm for getting your name out there it turns into enthusiasm for me getting your name out there. And that's what Stranger Danger has been for me so far.
You're like, oh, he doesn't have this crazy ego, like. But the book is called Stranger Danger. The book is called our name. Like, my last book was called Dangerama. It's all fucking. You run a publishing house called Strange House. Like, we're talking on Strange the World right now. It's like all this is fucking. But I mean, it's like, it's not even just the name. It's like you want to be a brand. You want to be. When people see Danger Slater, I mean, or Kevin Strange, you want them to know what they're getting into, you know? Absolutely. You want them to know ahead of time that, like, this is something that I'm going to enjoy because I've enjoyed everything else this person did, you know? So. And
that's what I mean by your ego is just big enough that I don't have to worry about you being like, well, I put out a book. Yeah, that's what I check that off my bucket list. Now I'm going to go on a vacation to Tijuana for 3 months. You know, I don't have to worry about that, and I also don't have to worry about you going fucking crazy on me and being like, that email that you sent me wasn't professional enough. You didn't address me directly as Danger Slater. You said, "Hey, dude." I am not dude, sir. I am the Danger Slater. You don't. And people fucking act like that. And if you haven't encountered people that act like that, I applaud you, sir, for being able to avoid them. But there are people out there in this fucking field that want their ego. They just have to have their butt rubbed at every fucking turn. Is this good enough? Is this good enough? Tell me it's the best thing ever. This isn't good, is it? This is bad. This is crap. No, tell me it's the best thing you've ever read, or I will publicly slander your name, sir. You're unprofessional. I deal with this kind of shit, Danger Slater. I do, and you're a very humble man, and you know what you want to put out in the world, and that's what I respect about you. You know what you want to do, but you're not crazy about it. You're not a crazy freak.
I mean, you can tell me my book is the best book ever. I'm not gonna get upset with that. But thank you. I mean, you're being really nice to me. That's awesome. Thank you, sir.
Tell us about the project. Tell us about. So you released Dangerama through Rooster Public Press, and from my perspective, from the outside looking in, it's very successful. It's a lot more successful than Love Me was through Jersey Devil. Is that true? That your career has definitely taken a spike forward. You're as a personality and as a writer, you've come into a much more notoriety and success through this the newer project than you had previously?
Well, the thing is, I don't know. I have no idea what my sales numbers are on anything. So I can't speak to. I mean, you know, I'll get my little royalty checks and shit, but like, I don't know what that even means in terms of copies usually. So I don't know. I can't really speak to say if one is financially more successful to another, but as far as motherfuckers knowing my name, I feel like I made a nice leap forward.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I mean. The Danger Slater brand is in full force right now. I don't think there's anybody out there that doesn't know who you are at this point that pays attention to alt literature. Danger Slater, in my mind, is one of the better names of the guys out there, just in terms of being a cool human being and having a really you have it's almost like your author persona is a character in and of itself. You're a writer that writes these flamboyant and outlandish books as a character named Danger Slater, and that's what I like about it. I really like brand. I'm a big, like you mentioned Trauma earlier. I'm a big Trauma brand. I believe in alternative branding, like Guar. The band Guar was brilliant in their branding. They were characters, and they created music as characters. Trauma, you know, Lloyd Kaufman plays a character on TV that also directs films. You know, that's what I like, and I connect and identify with Danger Slater as a writer in that same sort of way, where you present the world this character named Danger Slater, and he writes these outlandish books. I really like that.
Yeah, well, one day when I'm super super famous, and I get to be like the Danger Slater or something, and so now I'm like living this fucking life of this character, like I'm Lady Gaga of like writing weird ass books. Like I'm gonna look back at this little interview here and be like, man, I wasn't really putting it on, man. I'm just kind of being kind of straightforward with this dude. I should have been, all Danger Slater all over his ass.
Yeah, you got to get the gimmick going, man. You got to get the glasses going and the stupid straw burritos. I was gonna wear my suit. I was gonna wear my suit and tie and brag about the award I won the other day, but But again, I was scolded about how much screen time I took in our last interview. So I wanted to make sure we get all this taken care of here with Danger. So you're moving on from Dangerama, which as far as notoriety is concerned was a huge success for you. Motherfuckers now know your name. You started working on this project, Roadvolution. Tell me how that project got started and why you chose it in particular to be part of this Stranger Danger double novella.
I mean, this story itself, I was working at a mall. I don't know, I live in New Jersey, and I was working at a mall called Garden State Plaza, which is a really big mall in New Jersey. It's about not even 10 miles outside of New York City. Like you could see like the cityscape when you're driving in. And I would have to go in, on the early shift. I'd have to go in at like 9:30 to open this store in this mall, and I would get stuck in traffic, and I would be sitting there in traffic, and I'd see the city, and I would just be like so fucking annoyed that I'm like have to be in this moment. I'm like, I'm just sitting on this road to go to some shitty job. I'm stuck here. Like, look at all these other assholes around me. They're probably all thinking the same thing. So it was like kind of this the jumping off point of where I got this story from. I mean, the story, I'm not fucking spoiling anything because it's what the story's about. The story's about the roads coming to life and killing the people in the world. It's almost like a zombie story, but with roads instead of zombies. And it was just a way for me to therapeutically destroy this life that I used to have, like, through fiction. I was destroying the fucking life that I had then, this
Right.
Having to sit in the traffic and having to go to this mall and all these fucking highways and shit that's all tangled around New York City. Like, it's just this fucking clusterfuck of roads. And it was just my way of kind of coming to... and this is the job that I got fired from when I was writing... before, when I was talking about when I was writing Dangerama. Like, this is a job I had just gotten fired from then. But so, coming off this job and realizing I don't have to go there anymore, I was like... I don't know, I was just inspired to fucking ruin it through my fiction, I guess. Just destroy it all.
And why did you decide to choose that project to come to me with?
Well, it just happened to be what I was working on at the time, so it wasn't the specific project. I mean, I had just started writing it, and I was like, well, what can I do with this thing now? Because I knew it wasn't going to be a full-length book, like a full novel. So I was like, I could do like another collection of novellas, and I guess, like a Dangerama 2 or something. But then, like I said before, Erica's mom had that fucking, got her names confused, and I just thought it was really funny, so I just was like, well, maybe I could pitch it to this dude, and he'll think it's funny, and maybe build something around this.
And what was that process? Where did you see? Where did you develop the confidence to come to Strange House and pitch a story idea to us? Where did that come from? Like, where did you? You said we can't pinpoint exactly when we met on Facebook, but at some point you had to have started paying attention to Strange House to know we were out here publishing. What were your, why did you decide, of all the publishing houses out there, and you said you had this. The name thing with Erica's mom, but what was it that really brought you to us?
I mean, I just liked what you guys are doing. I remember I had a conversation too with Seamus from Rooster Republic, I'm like, look, I'm gonna talk to Strange House about doing a book. Like, I don't want to fucking insult you guys, and I don't want to be like, like I love those dudes. I'm actually going down to Texas on Thursday to go fucking help sell books with them and shit.
Right.
So,
Texas Frightmare Weekend, if you TexasFrightmareWeekend.com for all the information about the hours of the show, ticket prices. If you guys want to go hang out with Rooster Republic and Danger Slater, Chris Lugosi, who does lots of work with Strange House, will also be flying down there. So this conversation with you and Seamus, how did this go? I haven't heard this story. This is my first time hearing this.
Well, I mean, he wasn't like offended. I don't think he was offended. I mean, who the fuck knows? He lives in Texas, and I live in New Jersey. I mean, we were talking on like chat too. He could have just been like cursing my name and typing, just like motherfucker. But I mean, I was like, man, this will be good for even Rooster Republic. I'm like, there are readers that cross over between me and you. It's just, it's not a huge scene. But there's probably readers that are just into what you do or just into what I do. So I was like, this is a really good way to kind of share the readership with someone who I know writes good shit. I read your story, and when we first started talking, I only had read your story and Tall Tales with Short Cox 3, but I fucking loved that story. So I was just like, this guy can write some good shit.
That was a cool thing. I ended up doing that. I wrote that in a day. It was called... that one is called. What is the name of that story?
Was it like a time machine or? No?
It was something like a something life. It had the word life in the title.
Yeah, it's an otherwise ordinary kind of life is the name of that story. And I'm a really big Philip K. Dick fan. Philip K. Dick and Harlan Ellison are two of my biggest influences as far as writing fiction goes. And I've almost found myself in the last year or so, it's almost like I'm only writing hardcore science fiction with a bizarro bend to it. I don't know why, but it's like one of the things about Philip K. Dick is I love how he plays with perception of self, perception of reality. What is real? Am I real? Am I human? What does it mean to be human? Is an artificial intelligence just as good as being human, or better than being human? And those elements, he plays with those elements in so many different stories in so many different ways that I find myself really inspired to also explore those themes. And so an otherwise ordinary kind of life is about these holograms that are fucking with each other. There's like there's a girl, she's in a doctor's office, and she's like trying to, the doctor is supposed to be doing some kind of therapy with her about, I forget exactly what the details were, I wrote it like 2.5 years ago, but it ends up being like one of the characters is a hologram of the other character who's in a hologram suit being another character. It's like there's like 3 different personalities going on. There's like a projected consciousness, an actual physical consciousness that's covered in a suit that is a holographic suit. There's just all kinds of... I fucked my brain up as much as I could. I was like, I'm going to start writing this and confuse the fuck out of even myself. So by the end of the story, I didn't know who the character was. I have no idea which character actually walks out of that scene, because there ends up being a gun at work, and it ends up being a conspiracy, and only one of the characters walks away from the story, and I'm not even sure exactly which one it ended up truly being. But that was a lot of fun, and those guys liked it a lot, and they ended up being the cover of the book.
Yeah.
I got it right here. This is my story. The cover is of an otherwise ordinary kind of life, and so that was cool. And that was like the beginning of my relationship with Rooster Republic. So again, when you came to do business with me, I was already like, cool, let's do it. I had no reservations.
I think the first interaction that me and you had, actually, after I read that, I sent you a message on Facebook. All it said was like, hey man, I read your story in Tall Tales 3, like, it's pretty good. And you're like, this is always, your response was just like, yeah dude, I was on some Philip K. Dick shit. And then, and then I didn't talk to you for like a year after that.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. So that was so you had only read that up to that point, that story, and I guess you were gonna say you read something else after that.
Well, I mean, I'm reading it right now. I'm reading fucking
Robomapocalypse.
Robomapocalypse.
Yeah, that's a cool one. I like that one.
Zombie made of zombies.
Giant zombies and made of zombies. Yeah. So you came to me with the project. You told me about Road Evolution. You told me that it was basically an apocalyptic tale about sentient roads and subway systems come to life. And I was like, dude, we're good. We're in there. And so we started down this road, man. And we figured out our cover artist. We got Sean working on the editing. And Sean, what was your experience like working with Danger as far as editor and author go?
It was the easiest thing in the world. He's got right back to me with it. And I did the editing and I sent it right back to him, and he's like, right on, I have this back to you. Send it right back to me. Hey man, edits were good. Right on. Changed a couple things. That's about it.
No, dude, your edits were awesome. I mean, you and Art from Rooster Republic, you kind of do the same thing where like you don't really step too far into the project. It's more of like you let it stay intact, and you just kind of do all these cosmetic changes that really tighten it up and really make the story shine. Like things that as a writer you're not able to see because you kind of get trapped in your own little like cage of words sometimes, you know. And it's nice to have someone come out and be able to chop it up and chop off all those fucking loose ends, all the strings and threads hanging off of it, and make it a better story in the end.
Well, there's a lot of editors out there that pretty much just want to make the stories their own stories. I'm a big fan of you're the fucking writer, it's your story. I don't want to step all over that, you know. I want to keep that main story intact. It's not my story. I don't have anything to do with that. That's all you. So I'll make a little suggestion here and there, maybe some continuity, things don't kind of line up. But other than that, I like to leave all that stuff up to the author. I don't like to change much, you know.
Yeah, and I worked off the clean copy too. Like so, I
sent you that marked up copy. You're like, yeah, that's cool and all, but this is too fucking confusing. I don't like it.
Yeah, well, I think like because. As someone who rewrites a lot and focuses on word choice and tone and like cadence of sentences and things like that, like if I can read it a clean copy where you have edited it and I can't tell that you have made edits, it means that you made awesome edits. You know, it means that you were able to kind of keep the integrity of what my voice. You know, you kind of held it intact. So. That's why I like to work off a clean copy, and I don't think there was one instance in this whole fucking however many words it is, 250,000 or something like that, like or not 250, 25,000.
25,000 or something like that. Yeah.
Like, I don't think there was one point where I was just like, oh, this guy fucking changed my sentence. Like I don't think I even. It was just a fucking good edit. They were all good edits, so. It was.
Well, yeah.
You're like. Oh, he got back to me like 2 days.
How you're doing it, because it does get confusing. Because when I'm doing the edits, every once in a while, I'll have to open up a whole new tab and just write the thing out myself, just because the crossed out things and the red this and the red that, it just gets all clustered up and all jumbled, and you just can't really. You have to see the finished product. So I understand why you can't work like that.
Yeah, man.
The thing too about Sean is the nature of Strange House and dealing with the crazy fucking weirdos that we deal with is a lot of times Sean gets a deranged first draft from an author that he is just. I mean, it will just be if there's 300 words on a page, there'll be 200 edits in a page, and he will just have to fucking attack these manuscripts and just open them up, and it's not that he's rewriting the content, but he's like rewriting every single sentence so that it's grammatically correct, so it's not the rantings of a crazy person. And one of the first things he said to me whenever he got yours was, "Oh, this ain't gonna be shit."
Yeah, it's been one of the best ones I've worked with, so thank you for that.
Thanks, man.
So we got that done, and then we needed a cover for this thing, and since it's 2 different books by 2 different authors, it was kind of weird figuring out how we were going to display the actual cover of it. Were we just going to use our names? Was it just going to be Stranger Danger, and were we going to use an image or whatever? And we ended up going with you said that your favorite Strange House covers were the ones done by Luke Spooner from Carrion House. So I ended up contacting him, and I think we sort of talked about the idea of splitting the face down the middle and doing half of it a road monster and half of it computer face from my book. And Luke sketched something out for us, sent it over, and I remember that first day when we were looking at the image together. You had a lot of notes on it, but they were all really positive notes. Like, we could do this with it, we could do that with it. What if we did this with it? And I think the other day you told me you have like 7 or 8 different versions of the cover on there, because we really went to work on it. And together, you and me really collaborated, figuring out how big we wanted the names on it, what colors we were going to use, besides Luke's work that he did on the monsters. And every bit of that process was all positive. It was never, you never came at it like, well, this isn't what I thought it was going to be, or anything like that. It was all positive, and it was all like, well, what if we did this, or how could we do this, or what do you think of this idea? And every single time you would always finish it up with, I'm just an author, so I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. And I'd be like, no, bring it on. And I love positive notes. I love the idea of somebody saying this sucks and I don't know how to fix it. Just enrages me. If you tell me, if you're going to be critical about something, have a positive note to get it in the right direction. I can take criticism for whatever it is that I'm doing, whether it be the layout and design or my own writing. I accept criticism. If we're working together as a team to make the project better, if we're working in a positive direction, I never have an issue. My ego doesn't get in the way and say, "Well, this is fucking mine. I have to have this. My vision has to be intact. This has to be perfectly Kevin Strange." But at the same time, if I get a note that's basically just like, well, this sucks and I don't know what to do about it, or this sucks and it's so bad I can't fix it, then I get mad. Then I'm starting to get mad. But you never came at me with anything like that. Every bit of all of your notes were all positive. They were all, if you were being critical about something that we were doing as far as the layout and design, it was always, well, I'm not sure I like this, but what if we tried this? It was always with an eye toward making it right, getting it perfect. And that's what I like. I really, that keeps me working. Okay, well, how about this? I'll send you another one. Well, how about this? How about this? How about this? Until we get where we want to be. And that process was really easy with you.
Well, I mean, you were asking me every little step of the way too. You're like, well, what do you think of this? And to the point where, I mean, like you just said, I'm like, why is he asking me all these fucking questions? Like, he's the publisher, like. But it's cool because, like, I'm like, well, he obviously want my input in it. So I mean, I was,
The storm has made its way down to me, so we're gonna have to wrap this up before I lose power or whatever. So Stranger Danger is your novella Roadvolution, my novella Computer Face, which is about a post-apocalyptic world where robots actually trap human bodies inside of themselves and drive them insane, and they are powered by the insanity of the human beings trapped inside of them. And the book is all about one character who wakes up in this apocalypse with an iPad grafted to his face, and the robots recognize him as one of their own, but he's human, and the humans they believe he's one of the robots, so he's trapped between the remaining surviving human force and the robot punishment bots, and he's trying to figure out where he belongs in this world, or if he belongs anywhere. And those 2 novellas are now completed, and they will be released within the next week or 2 weeks. And yep. Stranger Danger is going to be out in the world, Danger Slater. How do you feel about that? Let's give it a hand.
Yeah, man, it's really exciting, dude.
That's going to come out through Strange House Books in the next couple of weeks. We're going to take it on tour all summer long to all of our conventions. We're doing a show in Indianapolis, a show in Kansas City, and a show in Chicago later on this year, and then it'll also be up at BizarroCon. Are you going to do BizarroCon this year, or are you going to just stick to this show with Rooster Republic in Texas?
I'll be honest with you. I've never been on an airplane in my fucking life, and I'm so scared of going on this airplane that I don't know if I'm ever going to leave New Jersey ever again. So
well, I believe you'll.
Shit, I don't do it either.
I believe you'll have a positive experience, and I would encourage you to consider BizarroCon at the end of the year, because there are a lot of great people that are going to be there, and it's such a great resource to meet and talk. Doing what we're doing right now, you actually get to do in person with a beer with 100 of your favorite authors.
Yeah.
It's just a really and there's so many, like, all day long there are the authors are getting up and speaking, and the different publishers are getting up and speaking. So all day long you have different panels. You can go in, hang out with your friends and whatever. And I'd like to hang out with you there. So if this doesn't end up being a total disaster when you go flying this weekend, hopefully you'll consider going up to BizarroCon too. Because we could bring Stranger Danger up there and do readings out of it and shit. Strange House will have a panel and shit, and we can bring you up and do some readings. It'll be a lot of fun.
That would be fun, man.
All right, let's wrap this up. We're almost at 2 hours here.
Wait. You can't just end this thing without talking about holy matrimony, dude. You just released a book on fucking Easter.
Yeah.
You need to talk about that.
Christ whiskers, Kevin.
Well,
Christ whiskers.
Well, I was talking to I saw some links several months ago to a lot of guys were freaking out because Amazon was pulling monster porn from their virtual shelves, and it turns out all they were doing was there was a reaction to some. Amazon got busted selling, not busted by the police or anything. There was some Christian organization that busted Amazon selling some underage monster pornography, and it was, depicting 16-year-old girls getting raped by monsters or whatever. And it became headline news for a day, and Amazon and a bunch of other Barnes & Noble, all these different online resellers reacted by yanking ebooks that had any kind of, that used the word teenager or had any kind of relation to what could be perceived as underage sex in their erotica section, mostly monster porn. So a lot of publishers were freaking out, thinking that all of our books were going to get yanked, and it ended up being big news for about a month, but it ended up being nothing. The sky was falling. None of our books got pulled. They were literally just targeting stuff that they considered child pornography. So, but what I learned, the big news to come out of this for me was that monster porn was a thing that sells really well. There was a chick that said that she was making $30,000 a month on Amazon selling monster porn. So I started talking to Sean about it. I was like, fuck Strange House, I'm going to write monster porn. Fuck this shit. I can make $30,000 a month writing about fucking Sasquatch gangbangs and shit. That's exactly what I'm going to do. And so in a joke in passing, do you remember exactly what the joke was, Sean?
I don't know. We were talking about that whatever Christian organization that was, so I mentioned that you need to start writing Jesus porn to piss them off instead of monster porn.
So I started talking, well, yeah, I'm going to write gay Jesus porn, then it was gay Jesus tentacle porn.
It was an out-of-hand conversation. Everything just went awry, and you said, fucking challenge accepted.
Yeah, so Sean's just laughing. He's like, you should do that. I was like, fuck you, I'm going to do it. So I ended up writing, it was one of those things where it only took me a couple of days. I ended up writing 5,000 words in a gay Jesus tentacle monster erotica story. And it ended up being like, and I still needed a story for Strange Sex 2, our upcoming summer anthology anyway, so I was like, well, fuck it, I'm going to write this fucking monster porn and put it in Strange Sex. And my plan was to make the cover of Strange Sex 2 Jesus making out with a dude with tentacles all around him. But these two guys actually want to make money at this company, so they talked me out of it. They said, don't do that. Do a hot chick on the cover or you're going to fuck us.
Ooh, that was me.
Wow. We live like 45 minutes apart, so this storm is really weird where it's at here. Anyway, so I ended up I wrote the story. Sean and Katie loved it. They got a kick out of it. So we ended up contacting an artist and doing it as because I always do my releases from the anthologies as like a 99-cent single, kind of like a single from an album from a band. And so I got a cover artist to do up Gay Jesus. For the first time in my career, like we've probably done like 25 books now, and for the first time, I posted the cover art for this book, and another professional artist that does Bizarro covers contacted me and was like, dude, gay Jesus tentacles, I'm all over this shit. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, I'm just gonna draw it for fun. Don't post it publicly, but you can show whoever you want to, but I'm gonna do a fucking gay Jesus tentacle cover. I was like, okay. So like 4 hours later, this guy sends me this fucking awesome black and white gay Jesus cover with fucking this monster has like 4 dicks all coming out of Jesus' fucking
3.
Dripping cum all over
Three
yeah,
Jesus.
dripping cum all over his fucking hands. I was like, that is the. I mean, if you can't ask for a better reaction than that, how can you ask for a better reaction than I like that so much? I'm going to draw it too. So that's my most recent project. Danger, you're working on some stuff for Rooster Republic, aren't you?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I'm working on just a new book. I mean, I'd love to work with Rooster Republic again, so it's probably where that might end up. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just writing. I guess.
He's like, I don't know what I'm doing. Maybe I overstepped my boundaries. I don't know if we're supposed to talk about this project or not. But you had told me you were working on a project for those guys. I don't know where it's at in its stages of completion or not. But that's, if that's not for public consumption, then fuck my life for mentioning it.
Well, I don't like to talk too much about things that aren't done yet because I don't want to put the curse on them or something.
No, I understand. I totally understand.
Unlike you, who decides he makes a cover for a book a story he's only half written at the time.
It wasn't even halfway done, dude. I had about 3,000 words on Computer Face when we decided to publish this book. I actually feel bad because you were done with your fucking story in November, and here we are in April, and I just finished my fucking book last week. We actually did promotion. We did the Ask Me Anything based around Stranger Danger, and I was only 5,000 words into the fucking story when we did that. Fucking that last video.
You make my job so easy, Kevin.
No, it's good. It's all good now. It's done and everything. And yeah, Sean's gonna have to work real hard to get it done. But it's been a wacky fucking quarter for Strange House. We had a particularly trying quarter, but we always get through it. Sean's a fucking hard worker, dude. I couldn't ask for a better editor-in-chief for Strange House, and I'm so glad you guys got along and were able to have a positive relationship with Roadvolution and stuff. Because I mean, I love to hear that our editors are easy to work with. That's what you want to hear as a publisher.
He definitely was easy to work with. I mean, I couldn't have asked for a better experience or someone editing my book either. So.
Fuck yeah, man. So
thank you guys.
Let's give it up for Sean Ferrari, ladies and gentlemen. All right.
Oh, I even got a kiss on the cheek from it.
So that's it. We're done. Danger, I appreciate you hanging out for 2 hours. I didn't know we were going to go this long, but like I said, I got scolded for not letting you talk enough last time, so I wanted to make sure we got the whole Danger Slater experience, Slater Stagliano experience, and I'm
Danger Stagliano.
That's going to be your what?
My porn name. That's a really good porn name.
So yeah, man, thanks a lot for coming by Strange the World, and we're so fucking stoked for this book. We still got a little bit of work to do to get it out there to the masses, but yeah, man, this is going to be a fun fucking project, and I can't wait to get it out there to people and show them what Danger Slater has to offer the world. So thank you very much for coming on the show, sir.
Thank you guys for having me, man. Oh yeah.
All right, we're gonna get out of here, and we'll see you guys on. I believe the next episode of Strange the World is gonna come sooner than the period of time between these last two. And aren't we, Sean? Aren't we gonna have John Bruni on as our special guest?
Yeah, that's what we decided, I think.
John Bruni is the newest editor here at Strange House, and he's editing the Strange Story Saturday flash fiction feature over on strangehousebooks.com. So, Danger, if you're ever feeling froggy and you want to write a page and a quarter, which I can't ever do, I could never write a 500-word story to save my life.
That's just one sentence in Kevin Strange's world.
Exactly. If you're ever feeling froggy, we're taking submissions constantly at strangestorysaturdays@gmail.com. That's open submissions forever, so anybody out there listening, if you guys want to send your flash fiction to Strange House, we're open. Contact John Bruni at strangestorysaturdays@gmail.com, and he's going to join us to talk about Strange Story Saturdays and his new book, what is it, Poor Bastards and Rich Fucks? Is that the name of John's book? That's coming out this summer through Strange House. So,
title.
I know, it's great. I can't wait to put it out. So thank you guys for coming, and we'll see you guys next time.